Full shit, you know what I'm saying? Like, just some social shit for everyone, you know what I'm saying? Like, I made this be myself, so hear me. Woo! I mean, like, we can put all that clown shit away. There's some real shit for you. I'm spazzing right now, so listen, let's go. Yeah. It's in their bones, the thugs in harmony for the love of the money. Then fall victim for the cookie, then turn pussy, it's lonely. You said you hold it down when life get rough, we're here now, so show me. We move them losses to them wins. Heavy pounds, we make it ends meet. Converse with only few who make me feel like I be 10 feet.
What's happening, people? It's G. We are back in the damn building. Chelsea have done it again. Yes, they have signed another youngster, another wonder kid, shall we call him, you know, from Sporting as well, and that is Dario Essugo. Chelsea really are playing football manager, you know, at this current moment, you know, in time. And Essugo, you know, he will join this summer and he will be a part of the first team. According to Fabrizio Romano, 22 million euro fee. You know, just like, you know, 𝐒𝐁𝐄, you know, just like 𝐒𝐁𝐄, you know, just like a few other players that they've, you know, signed over the last couple of seasons, to be honest with you. You know, it's all of this kind of building towards the future, you know, with Chelsea. And him signing a 7-year deal, again, it's just a part of what they are trying to possibly do here. I kind of understand it to a certain degree, you know. I do get as to why Chelsea are signing some of these players, you know, and potentially keeping them on these really long deals. I think it makes sense potentially in the long run because you could actually make a profit on some of these players, you know, especially if they go out on loan, if they develop and things like that. And I understand because ultimately you are trying to create this kind of conveyor belt of talent who could potentially make you money, you know, in the future, or they can help you towards, you know, winning competitions, which in turn then brings you money. But, you know, it is just very interesting that they are going about it in this kind of way. You know, as I mentioned before, them signing, you know, 𝐒𝐁𝐄, you know, for 48 million, you know, now it's Dario Essugo for 22 million. You know, that's quite a lot of money. You know, that's about 70 million, you know, that they've spent roughly there, you know, in itself. So yeah, I think it's a very interesting approach from Chelsea. But listen, we're here to talk about Dario Usuga. What kind of a player is he? He's a very talented individual. Now, on to Dario Essugo, who is currently plying his trade in La Liga with Las Palmas. He is a defensive midfielder by trade, can also play in central midfield. One thing I will say, you know, when we're talking about Essugo, and it's something that I did mention, you know, with 𝐒𝐁𝐄, and it may be just something, you know, that it might just be with Portuguese players, it might just potentially be with Sporting Lisbon, I don't really know. But one thing I will say about him is he's quite intelligent, very intelligent individual, and that's something that we have seen quite a lot for Las Palmas, especially, you know, this season, especially with the way that, you know, that they kind of play. You know, they're a team who, you know, like to play very vertical in the way that they play. And his positioning off the ball, you know, at times is really pivotal to what they're trying to do, and is very good. So, of course, what I mean by, you know, them playing vertical is, you know, they're quite a direct team, effectively. You know, they're not a team who are going to do too much tiki-taka and, you know, things like that. They're, you know, they're the type of team who are going to kind of launch balls into, you know, the opposition box or into the opposition space if they can find it, you know, in order to, you know, get their wide players to attack or try and get their players to kind of chase. They're not really a team who like to build up very slowly and things like that. Now, of course, that comes with its drawbacks, obviously, but in a system like that, you know, you kind of do need players who are quite intelligent. You do need players who are good in these 1v1 duels, and you need players who are pretty decent, you know, when it comes to, you know, interceptions and just the reading of the game. Because of course, if you then lose the ball, then the ball comes straight back, and then, you know, your team are under the cosh a little bit. And of course, Las Palmas don't exactly have the best of players, you know, in La Liga. So to have someone, you know, like Essugo with his kind of energy, you know, his kind of nous in that midfield area, it's doing pretty well for him as an individual. Not necessarily for Las Palmas, but for him as an individual, it is looking pretty decent. As I mentioned before, of course, with that off the ball movement obviously being vital, for Las Palmas. One other thing is, he is a player who is seemingly always on the move. He seems to pull players, opposition players out of position, and he does like to create pockets of space, and he is always that kind of free man. Obviously, playing in that DM role will allow him to be so, but he likes to create that space for his teammates to kind of exploit. And I think he's one of those players that if you don't track, if you don't follow, and then he obviously, can carry the ball, or he can progress higher up the pitch, he then becomes an option, in that attacking third position. And, once you've seen some of the highlights, of Essugo, you'll see that he can be dangerous, in and around the box. And he is such a strong runner as well, can be very, very difficult to kind of knock off the ball. Essugo, he's had like an interesting start to his kind of footballing career, on 16th of March back in 2021, he signed his first professional contract, and 4 days later, before he'd even played for the under-23 or the reserve side, he made his debut for Sporting Lisbon first team, coming on as a substitute. At 16 years and 6 days, he became the youngest ever debutant in the club's history, and that was before he'd even, played for the youth sides, which again is always quite interesting. And he won his first cap for the under-21 Portuguese side at just 18 years of age. So he's had, in my opinion, quite a quick rise, through the ranks. And listen, I think he's kind of reached this stage where, he's been out on a couple of loans. Of course, he's currently at Las Palmas at this moment in time, but he's had these loans, and I think that, Chelsea signing him now, they're probably getting him, I would say, potentially at that right time, to be honest with you. It's just about how he develops from here. Holding midfielder, he can obviously play as a box-to-box midfielder, as well. He's got this natural fitness, about him. He feels comfortable, when he does get into these contact, situations. And as I mentioned before, he's a powerful midfielder. He likes to impose himself on the pitch. He's got this tireless running kind of attribute that he's got there, the work rate, the strength, on the ball, and he's got good pace and coordination, for someone, of that kind of size. He is quite an athletic, individual, and he's a decent passer of the ball. And you can see with a lot of these situations as well, again, it's that intelligence, it's that composure that he does have on the ball, and especially off the ball, again, being able to snuff out some of these situations, understanding when he needs to get there, when he needs to, make those kind of movements. Potentially under Maresca, they did mention that he will be coming into that Chelsea first team. So potentially under Maresca, he could be a player who could, actually add some value, to that first team. Obviously, he's still quite young. So again, like I mentioned before, it's going to be interesting as to how he gets integrated into this first team, and, whether or not that's going to stall or hinder or help, his development. He's a player who obviously possesses high stamina. He's got good energy. He can make, really good runs. Is he coming in to potentially be, an understudy to like Enzo Fernandez and Caicedo? Not in terms of profile of individual, just more in terms of the position that he does play. I think his strength and, his ability on the ball might be a benefit in the Premier League. Just in terms of the physical style, the physical nature of it. So I don't think he would have too many issues with things like that. But of course, we never really and truly know until the player actually gets here. So again, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be really, really interesting. You have got an intelligent player. You've got a really, really good player. You've got someone who, in my personal opinion, I think he should be able to acclimatize himself, to the Premier League if given enough games, to be able to do so. This is a very, very good player, man. He's got that, he's very good at interceptions. He's good at clearance. He's good at tackles. He's got the positioning. He's got the intelligence, to be able to potentially play at a higher level. Again, I always say with these young players, it's just really about consistency, and, whether or not he's going to be able to show that at Chelsea, it does remain to be seen. But Chelsea fans, let us know in the comment section. Another wonder kid, as I like to call them, from Sporting Lisbon. You have been able to get in. It's going to be an interesting team that you guys have in the next couple of years, especially on these really long deals. Are you guys happy with the signing? Do you think, you know, he should go out on loan? Did you want a different type of player, different type of profile? Let me know your thoughts, people, in the comments section.